Srimad Bhagwat Gita has 700 verses. If we complete 100 verse per day, like 100 verses on Monday, 100 verses on Tuesday, we'll be able to complete the complete Bhagavad Gita within 1 week. So let's start. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. The Bhagavad Gita, the Song Divine, Chapter 1. Dhritarashtra said, Sanjay, gathered on the holy land of Kurukshetra, eager to fight, what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do? Sanjaya said, at that time, seeing the army of the Pandavas drawn up for battle and approaching Dronacharya, King Duryodhana spoke the following words. Behold, O revered master, the mighty army of the sons of Pandu, arrayed for battle by your talented pupil, Drishtadyum, son of Drupad. There are in this army heroes wielding mighty bows and equal in military prowess to Bhim and Arjun, Satyaki and Virat, and the Maharathi warrior chief Drupad, Drishtaketu, Chekitan, and the valiant king of Kashi and Purujit, Kunti Bhoj and Shaibh, the best of men, and mighty Yudhamanyu and valiant Utamoj, Abhimanyu, the son of Subhadra, and the 5 sons of Draupadi, all of them Maharathis, means warrior chiefs. O best of Brahmins, know them also, who are the principal warriors on our side, the generals of my army. For your information, I mention them. Yourself and Bhishma and Karna and Kripacharya, who is ever victorious in battle, and even so Ashwathama, Vikarn, and Bhurishrava, the son of Somdat. And there are many other heroes equipped with various weapons and missiles, who have staked their lives for me, all skilled in warfare. This army of ours, fully protected by Bhishma, is unconquerable, while that army of theirs, guarded in every way by Bhima, is easy to conquer. Therefore, stationed in your respective positions on all fronts, do you all guard Bhishma in particular on all sides. The grand old men of Kaurva race, their glorious grand patriarch Bhishma, cheering up Duryodhana, roared terribly like a lion and blew his conch. Then conches, kettle drums, tabors, drums, and trumpets suddenly blared forth, and the noise was tumultuous. Then, seated in a glorious chariot drawn by white horses, Shri Krishna as well as Arjuna blew their celestial conches. Shri Krishna blew his conch named Panchajanya, Arjun Devadatta, while Bhima of ferocious deeds blew his mighty conch Pondra. King Yudhishthir, son of Kunti, blew his conch Anantavijay, while Nakula and Sahadev blew theirs known as Sughosh and Mani Pushpak, respectively. And the excellent archer, the king of Kashi, and Shikhandi, the Maharathi, the great chariot warrior, Drishtadyum and Virat, an invincible Satyaki, Drupad, as well as the 5 sons of Draupadi, and the mighty armed Abhimanyu, son of Subhadra, all of them, O Lord of the earth, severally blew their respective conches from all sides. And a terrible sound echoing through heaven and earth rent the hearts of Dhritarashtra's army. Now, O Lord of the earth, seeing your sons arrayed against him, and when missiles were ready to be hurled, Arjun, who had the figure of Hanuman on the flag of his chariot, took up his bow and then addressed the following words to Shri Krishna. Krishna, place my chariot between the two armies and keep it there till I have carefully observed these warriors drawn up for battle and have seen with whom I have to engage in this fight. I shall scan the well-wishers of evil-minded Duryodhana in this war, whoever have assembled on his side and are ready for the fight. Sanjaya said, O king, thus addressed by Arjuna, Shri Krishna placed the magnificent chariot between the two armies in front of Bhishma, Drona, and all the kings, and said, Arjun, behold these Kauravas assembled here. Now Arjun stationed there in both the armies, his uncles, granduncles, and teachers, even great granduncles, maternal uncles, brothers and cousins, sons and nephews and grandnephews, even so friends, father in law, and well wishers as well. Seeing all the relations present there, Arjuna was overcome with deep compassion and spoke thus in sorrow. Arjuna said, Krishna, as I see these kinsmen narrate for battle, my limbs give away. My mouth is getting parched. Nay, a shiver runs through my body and hair stands on end. The bow, Gandiv, slips from my hand and my skin too burns all over. My mind is whirling, as it were, and I can no longer hold myself steady. And Keshav, I see such omens of evil, nor do I see any good in killing my kinsmen in battle. Krishna, I do not covet victory, nor kingdom, nor pleasures. Govinda, of what use will kingdom or luxuries or even life be to us? Those very person for whose sake we covet the kingdom, luxuries, and pleasures, teachers, uncles, sons, and nephews, and even so granduncles and great granduncles, maternal uncles, father in law, grandnephews, brother in law, and other relations are here, arrayed on the battlefield, staking their lives and wealth. O slayer of Madhu, I do not want to kill them, even though they slay me, even for the sovereignty over the three worlds. How much the less for the kingdom here on earth? Krishna, how can we hope to be happy slaying the sons of Dhritarashtra? By killing even these desperados, sin will surely occur to us. Therefore, Krishna, it does not behove us to kill our relations, the sons of Dhritarashtra, for how can we be happy after killing our own kinsmen? Even though these people, with their mind blinded by greed, perceive no evil in destroying their own race and no sin in treason to friends, why should not we, O Krishna, who see clearly the sin occurring from the destruction of one's family, think of desisting from committing their foul deed? Age-long family traditions disappear with the destruction of a family, and virtue having been lost, vice takes hold of the entire race. With the preponderance of vice, Krishna, the women of the family become corrupt, and with the corruption of women, O descendant of Rishi, these ensures an intermixture of caste. Progeny due to promiscuity damns the destroyers of the race as well as the race itself. Deprived of the offerings of rice and water, Shraddh, Tarpan, etc., the mains of their race also fall. Through these evil bringing about an intermixture of caste, the age-long caste traditions and family customs of the killer of the kinsman get extinct. Krishna, we hear that men who have lost their family traditions dwell in hell for an indefinite period of time. Oh, what a pity! Though possessed of intelligence, we have set our mind on the commission of a great sin. That due to lust for throne and enjoyment, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen. It would be better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, armed with weapons, kill me in the battle while I am unarmed and unresisting. Sanjay said, Arjuna, whose mind was agitated by grief on the battlefield, having spoken thus and having cast aside his bow and arrows, sank into the hinder part of his chariot. Thus, in the Upanishad sung by the Lord, the science of Brahma, the scripture of yoga, the dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna ends the first chapter entitled The Yoga of Dejection of Arjuna. Chapter 2. Sanjay said, Sri Krishna then addressed the following words to Arjuna, who was, as mentioned before, overwhelmed with pity, whose eyes were filled with tears and agitated, and who was full of sorrow. Sri Bhagwan said, Arjuna, how has this infatuation overtaken you at this odd hour? It is shunned by noble souls, neither will it bring heaven nor fame to you. Yield not to unmanliness, Arjuna. This does not become you. Shaking off this base faint-heartedness, stand up, O scorcher of enemies. Arjuna said, how, Krishna, shall I fight Bhishma and Drona with arrows on the battlefield? They are worthy of deepest reverence, O destroyer of foes. It is better to live on alms in this world without slaying these noble elders, because even after killing them, we shall, after all, enjoy only blood-stained pleasures in the form of wealth and sense enjoyments. We do not even know which is preferable for us to fight or not to fight, nor do we know whether we shall win or whether they will conquer us. Those very sons of the Dhritarashtra, killing whom we do not even wish to live, stand in the enemy ranks. With my very being smitten by the vice of faint-heartedness and my mind puzzled with regard to duty, I beseech you, tell me that which is decidedly good. I am your disciple. Pray, instruct me who have taken refuge in you. For even on obtaining undisrupted sovereignty and an affluent kingdom on this earth and lordship over the gods, I do not see any means that can drive away the grief which is drying up my senses. Sanjay said, O king, having thus spoken to Sri Krishna, Arjuna again said to him, I will not fight, and became silent. Then, O Dhritarashtra, Sri Krishna, as if smiling, addressed the following words to grieving Arjuna in the midst of the two armies. Shri Bhagwan said, Arjuna, you grieve over those who should not be grieved for and yet speak like the learned. Wise men do not sorrow over the dead or the living. In fact, there was never a time when I was not, or when you or these kings were not, nor is it effect that hereafter we shall all cease to be. Just as boyhood, youth, and old age are attributed to the soul through this body, even so it attains another body. This the wise man does not get deluded about this. O son of Kunti, the contacts between the senses and their objects, which give rise to the feelings of heat and cold, pleasure and pain, etc., are transitory and fleeting. Therefore, Arjuna, endure them. Arjuna, the wise man to whom pain and pleasures are alike, and who is not tormented by these contacts, becomes eligible for immortality. The unreal has no existence, and the real never ceases to be. The reality of both has thus been perceived by the seers of truth. Know that alone to be imperishable which pervades this universe, for no one has power to destroy this indestructible substance. All these bodies pertaining to the imperishable, indefinable, and eternal soul are spoken of as perishable. Therefore, Arjuna, fight. Both of them are ignorant, he who considers the soul to be capable of killing and he who takes it as killed. For verily the soul neither kills nor is killed. The soul is never born, nor it ever dies, nor does it become only after being born. For it is unborn, eternal, everlasting, and primeval. Even though the body is slain, the soul is not. Arjun, the man who knows the soul to be imperishable, eternal, and free from birth and decay, how and whom will he cause to be killed? How and whom will he kill? As a man shedding worn out garments takes other new ones, likewise, the embodied soul, casting of worn out bodies, enters into others that are new. Weapons cannot cut it, nor can fire burn it. Water cannot wet it, nor can wind dry it. For the soul is incapable of being cut or burnt by fire, nor can it be dissolved by water, and is undryable by air as well. This soul is eternal, omnipresent, immovable, constant, and everlasting. This soul is unmanifest, it is incomprehensible, and it is spoken of as immutable. Therefore, knowing it as such, you should not grieve. And Arjun, if you should suppose this soul to be subject to constant birth and death, even then you should not grieve like this. For in that case, death is certain for the born, and rebirth is inevitable for the dead. You should not therefore grieve over the inevitable. Arjun, before birth brings beings are not manifest to our human senses. On death, they return to the unmanifest again. They are manifest only in the interim between birth and death. What occasion then for lamentation? Hardly anyone perceives the soul as marvelous scarce, another likewise speaks thereof as marvelous, and scare another hears of it as marvelous, while there are some who know it not even on hearing of it. Arjun, this soul dwelling in the bodies of all can never be slain. Therefore, you should not mourn for anyone. Besides, considering your own duty too, you should not waver, for there is nothing more welcome for a man of the warrior class than a righteous war. Arjun, happy are the Kshatriyas who get such an unsolicited opportunity for war, which is an open gateway to heaven. Now, if you refuse to fight this righteous war, then shirking your duty and losing your reputation, you will incur sin. Nay, people will also pour undying infamy on you, and infamy brought on a man enjoying popular esteem is worse than death. And the warrior chiefs who thought highly of you will now despise you, thinking that it was fear which drove you away from battle. And your enemies, disparaging your might, will speak many unbecoming words. What can be more distressing than this? Die, and you will win heaven. Conquer, and you enjoy sovereignty of the earth. Therefore, stand up, Arjun, determined to fight, treating alike victory and defeat, gain and loss, pleasure and pain. Get ready for the battle. Fighting thus, you will not incur sin. Arjun, this attitude of mind has been presented to you from the point of view of Gyan Yoga. Now, here the same as presented from the standpoint of Karma Yoga, the yoga of selfless action. Equipped with this attitude of mind, you will be able to throw off completely the shackles of karma. In this path of disinterested action, there is no loss of effort, nor is there fear of contrary result. Even a little practice of this discipline saves one from the terrible fear of birth and death. Arjun, in this yoga of disinterested action, the intellect is determinate and directed singly towards one ideal, whereas the intellect of the undecided, ignorant man, moved by desires, wanders in all directions after innumerable aims. Arjun, those who are full of worldly desires and devoted to the letter of the Vedas, who look upon heaven as the supreme goal and argue that there is nothing beyond heaven, are unwise. They utter flowery speech, recommending many rituals of various kinds for the attainment of pleasure and power, with rebirth as their fruit. Those whose minds are carried away by such words and who are deeply attached to pleasures and worldly power cannot attain the determinate intellect concentrated on God. Arjun, the Vedas thus deal with the evolutes of the three gunas, modes of Prakriti, which is worldly enjoyments and the means of attaining such enjoyments. Be thou indifferent to these enjoyments and their means rising above pairs of opposite like pleasures and pain, etc. Established in the eternal existence, God, absolutely unconcerned about the fulfillment of wants and the preservations of what has been already attained and self-controlled. A Brahmin who has obtained enlightenment has as much use for all the Vedas as one who stands at the brink of a sheet of water overflowing on all sides has for a small reservoir of water. Your right is to work only and never to the fruit thereof. Do not be the cause of the fruit of action, nor let your attachment be to inaction. Arjun, perform your duties established in yoga, renouncing its attachment, and be even-minded in success and failure. Evenness of mind is called yoga. Action with a selfish motive is far inferior to this yoga in the form of equanimity. Do seek refuge in this equipoise of mind. Arjun, for poor and wretched are those who are instrumental in making their actions bear fruit. Endowed with equanimity, one sheds in their life both good and evil. Therefore, strive for the practice of this yoga of equanimity. Skill in action lies in the practice of this yoga. For wise men possessing equipoised mind, renouncing the fruit of actions, and freed from the shackles of birth, attain the blissful supreme state. When your mind will have fully crossed the mire of delusion, you will then grow indifferent to the enjoyments of this world and the next that have been heard of, as well as to those that are yet to be heard of. When your intellect, confused by hearing conflicting statements, will rest steady and undistracted in meditation on God, you will then attain yoga, everlasting union with God. This completes 100 verses for Monday.